Hey, thank you so much for going ahead and putting your name, department, email, pronouns in the chat. I really appreciate it. I am Dr. Evans Garriott. You can call me Deidre. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the director of the Writing Center and an instructor in the Department of English. And I am here to talk with you today about the Reading Accountability Group that I will be hosting through this semester. And I hope that if you have colleagues or friends who weren't able to attend today, that you'll share a little bit with them. Just because someone wasn't able to attend today doesn't mean that they won't be allowed to attend the group in the future. We all will have days when we are busy and can't attend something, so I completely understand. So I do have a PowerPoint that I'm going to be using to lead us through today, just to make sure that I stay on task. And we will go from there. And again, thank you for continuing to put your name, pronoun, email, and departments into the chat. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so really the goal of this session is just to talk with you a little bit about how this group runs and what we'll be doing. And it'll give me an opportunity to talk with you a little bit about the Rating Center. Even though about a quarter to 1/3 of our clients are grad students, that doesn't mean that a lot of grad students know what the Rating Center is and that we help you, we support you. So before we get started, I will talk with you a little bit about the Writing Center. So the Writing Center is located in the James F. Burns building. That address is 901 Sumter Street. So if you want to use Google Maps to help get you there, that will help. And if you're someone like me who likes landmarks, we are on the corner of Sumter Street and College Street, literally right across the street from the Horseshoe. This is the same building that the Apple store, the campus iHub, I think is what it's called, is in. And we are up on the 7th floor. In fact, if you are looking at the building, the upper right-hand corner of the building that I'm circling with my mouse, if you can see that, that is actually where the Writing Center is. So you'll go in on the doors on the College Street side of the building and take the elevators if you want. You can also take the stairs up to the 7th floor, and that is where we are located. And we try to provide a safe, cozy, and rigorous atmosphere for everybody. We are staffed by graduate students from the Department of English. So we have PhD students and students getting their Masters of Arts and Masters of Fine Arts who are working in the Writing Center as part of their professional development training. And everybody who is in here has engaged in writing a thesis, or they're working on their dissertations. They have successfully completed various projects, including conference talks. And they also go through rigorous training that I lead through the entire year. So these are excellent people to work with. We offer appointments only, and we're open Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then we reopen for remote only hours from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then Fridays, we're open remotely 12 to 2. That 10 to 3, we offer remote and in-person appointments. So we're happy to help you in whatever modality best suits you. We do offer 3 modalities, of course, in person, where you can come up to the center, and I can talk to you a little bit more about the perks of doing that in a moment. We also offer live video. We don't use Zoom. We actually use the scheduling platform that the video tool of the scheduling platforms we use. But it's very much like what we're doing right now. And we also offer document drop off. You will have to schedule an appointment, and you can find directions for doing that on our website, as well as on the page where you will schedule appointments. And if we have time at the end of this conversation, I'm happy to go through and show you how to do that. The Writing Center appointments are where you can have one-to-one sessions with a tutor for 30 minutes to 1 hour, depending on what you choose, to go over a project of your choice. And while we will be working with you on that specific text and that specific genre, the goal is to use every appointment as an opportunity to help you continue to develop your skills as a writer. When we do think about developing skills, not developing you, you are already a fully developed person. But writing skills are things that continue to develop over time. Even though I have a PhD in rhetoric and writing, my writing skills continue to change and improve as what it means to be a good writer changes. So we really think about what we're doing as developing skill sets and toolboxes for what you're doing, and not fixing you or a document. So we are a very supportive environment, but we also are going to come to every session as highly rational people who are here to make sure we're holding you accountable for the best possible communication that you can engage in with an audience. So I do want to talk about the perks of coming in person real fast, just because I think the Writing Center has created a very welcoming environment. So when you come into the Writing Center, once you let the person at the front desk know that you're here, we'll take you into our waiting room where you can make yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. We provide those complimentary to you, and then you'll wait in that waiting room until your tutor is available, and they'll come get you and bring you back into the tutoring space. And in that waiting room, you can just relax, do whatever you want to do. You can work if you want, or just sit and do whatever you need to do in that moment. But we also have little things that you can do to help you de-stress. So we have stress toys that you can play with. We have coloring books. We have all kinds of things to just give you opportunity to engage a little differently with your brain and body before the session starts. Once you're done with the session, the tutor will, go back over what happened in the session. They'll summarize the session, talk with you about next steps, and then by the end of that tutor shift, you will have a report for them that does the same thing, that summarizes the session and talks about your next steps. You can come in for up to 4 appointments a week. And like I said, appointments can be a half hour to an hour long. And I'll be happy to take more questions about the Writing Center later. But we do help a lot of graduate students, and we really enjoy working with graduate students. We work with grad students from a variety of disciplines. In fact, in the last 2 years, we've now started seeing graduate students from every college and school on campus. So that has been really exciting. In today's session, we're going to talk about the purpose of this group, how I organize it, what the commitments are, and the shape of each meeting, just so that you can decide whether this is something that you want to do. So the goal of this group on my end is that each of you will pick 1 to 2 projects, whether that is standalone projects, maybe an article that you are writing, or maybe some other kind of project. Each of you has your own project list that you are managing. It could be chapters of a dissertation or thesis, maybe conference presentations or papers, or it could also be job market documents for your dossier, whatever it is. But you will try to complete those in the 12 weeks we will be meeting. And the way that we're going to do this is that we will learn how to set small, achievable goals for each meeting. So we will be meeting for 2 hours, and the goal for each meeting is to say, okay, in the time that I'm writing, in the 2 hours that I'll be working, this is the concrete goal, maybe number of words, number of paragraphs, pages, whatever feels best to you, that I'm going to complete, with the overarching goal of meeting those 1 to 2 project completion points by the end of the semester. So one of the things that we'll do, and we'll start this next week, is create a timetable for ourselves. So we'll create a semester-long timetable, and then we'll create a weekly timetable. And I'll bring in some different strategies for managing those timetables. Everybody has different ways that they like to manage those. I have done similar writing groups for myself through the International Writing Centers Association, which is one of my professional organizations. And we in writing centers tend to be a crafty bunch. And so a lot of us made little charts and we would put stickers for every hour that we wrote through the course of a summer. And the goal was that by the end of the summer, we would have, written for 100 hours. And we would fill up our chart with 100 different stickers, right? So there are all different kinds of ways that we can motivate ourselves and set these goals. So we'll set both large goals and small goals. And the goal is to turn our large timetable into smaller, achievable goals for each week. And we'll set those goals at each meeting and do our best to achieve them. The goal is not to penalize you or to make you even more upset if you don't meet those goals. The goal is to keep you motivated. It's to give you independent writing time, but in a supportive environment. One of the things that can happen, and I speak from experience as someone who completed my dissertation a little over 10 years ago, is that when we're in the process of working on our comprehensive exams, our proposal or prospectus, or our dissertation, is that we tend to be very isolated from our departmental communities, but also other communities. And we tend to be writing very much in isolation, and it can feel very lonely and it's hard to see the progress that we're making. But if we write within a community of writers and we build for ourselves a supportive environment of writers, then it is easier for us to both keep up with the writing because it becomes something more enjoyable. It becomes something that is communal, but it also becomes something that is supportive. And the goal here is, even if we don't meet every weekly goal, which will happen, you might set a weekly goal and you may not meet it, we will still celebrate what we got done, because any writing, any progress is better than no progress. Typically, what I will do is we will have a large group. I've had groups as large as 40 people, and then groups as small as 12 to 15. And what I try to do is I create small groups according to genre, if possible. And so I might have a group of dissertation writers. I might have a group of people working on conference projects. I might have a group of people working on job market dossiers, whatever it is. And I try to create those groups according to those genres. Depending on the size of the group, I sometimes will have multiple groups for these different genres. So we might have a couple of dissertation groups or a couple of journal article writing groups. And I try not to keep people within their departmental silos. Instead, I try to make sure that each group is as interdisciplinary as I can get you. And part of this is really because, again, of that concern that I share about isolation. It is very easy for us to isolate with ourselves within our disciplinary silos. And I think that can actually hurt us as writers and communicators, because we need to be able to share our thoughts and ideas with what we would call ideal audiences. So highly reasonable, highly rational, highly educated people who may not be in our discipline. They may not be subject matter experts, but they are the kinds of people that we would want to run our ideas by. And if we are siloing ourselves within our disciplines, and then we're not getting those opportunities to learn how to talk to non-experts in ways that are accessible and meaningful outside of our disciplines. So I do try to keep those groups as interdisciplinary as possible. I also think it's a good thing for us to just get to know other people outside of our departments. It's very easy for us to end up having friends just inside of our departments. And I try very hard to make sure that we are creating contacts more broadly than just in our disciplines. Each week, we'll start as a large group and we'll talk for about 10 to 15 minutes. So normally I try to open up with a meditation or mindfulness exercise to just give us an opportunity to shed the stress that has been on us from other aspects of our lives and begin to focus on the, hour plus time that we're going to be together. We will then share our victories with each other, our victories with writing and research, and we will define writing very broadly. And then once we do that, I'll break you into your small groups and you will begin the writing process. Within those small groups, you'll each set your goals, and then the members should provide feedback to each other on their goals. So you might think about providing feedback about whether a goal is achievable or how responsive it is or respectful of the timetable, the larger timetable that you have created. Perhaps you need to revisit your timetable. So this is an opportunity for you to get feedback on how feasible your goals and your timetable are. I suggest that at this point, once everybody has set their goals and had opportunities to receive feedback on those goals, to turn off your mics, but leave your videos up if you're comfortable. And I like doing that. I've done that in my own writing groups because there will be times when you're leaning back away from your computer and you're taking a moment to just look up at the screen, and it can be very motivational to see other members of your group still writing, to be bent over their laptops and clicking away on their keyboards. It can make you feel like you're part of something, even though we are in our own little remote areas. And then we will write until about 5 minutes before the end of our small group writing time. And at that point, you'll stop and get to share with each other your progress. After that, we'll return into the large group and check in, and we'll talk about what we learned about our timetables. Do we need to change them? What kept us motivated to write during this session? Opportunities to give each other supports. And then we can also set goals for between the sessions, because while this is 2 hours a week that you're dedicating to writing, you might have other times that you're dedicating to writing as well. And so it's always nice to articulate those goals. It puts a little bit of healthy peer pressure on you. Now, before I talk about various resources, and you can see one up here, I do want to talk about the commitment to this group. Because you'll be in these small groups, and there is so much commitment to learning about each other, learning about what you're writing, learning about each other's timetables, and giving that feedback to each other. It is very important that you are able to commit to attending the vast majority of the meetings. So I counted the number of meetings that we will have from starting from next week, and there will be 12 meetings. So 12 2-hour meetings starting from next week through the last day that we will be together, which is April 22nd. We will not meet during spring break. Everybody needs that time off. You can do whatever you want. You can still meet, you can still do whatever, but I will not be hosting the writing group during that week. I ask that you commit to attending 10 out of 12 of those meetings. Of course, 12 out of 12 is perfect. I would love that, but I do want to make sure that people feel comfortable being absent or coming in late or something. You need to commit to being able to attend at least 12 full meetings. If you can't do that, this is not the right semester for you. Maybe in the fall or next spring, those would be when I run these groups again, that would be better. I do want to talk about a couple of resources that you might pick up and use, and I will be using from time to time to inform those 10 to 15 minutes that we're together at the beginning of the session. So one is Wendy Belcher's Writing Your Journal Article in 12 Weeks. It is pricey. This is an old screenshot. To be honest, I was looking it up today and it's gone up to about $60. But it is a very helpful book that helps you think about your large goal, and then how to break that down into reasonable goals. And because we are going to be meeting over 12 weeks, I think this is a really nice one. And I have used the journal article book, Belcher's journal article book, and adapted it for things like book chapters or dissertation chapters. So it's really a really nice way to you can take it and adapt it for different longer projects, more some sustained research. I also like to suggest Sylvia's How to Write a Lot, a practical guide to productive academic writing. I think this is another very helpful book, and it's really inexpensive that helps you think about ways to produce in a publish or perish environment. And then the only academic phrase book you'll ever need, with 600 examples of academic language. I really like this book because especially for first generation students, I was not first generation in general, but I was first generation PhD, like grad school, and I really didn't know how to make the rhetorical moves all the time that my peers did, my peers who came from academic families. And I found this book incredibly useful in mimic the different kinds of rhetorical strategies that I would need to be making. So this is another great book that I would encourage some of you to get. And I will have questions for you that we'll talk about, and then some of them will be answered in a questionnaire that I'm going to ask you to take. But questions such as, would you ever want me to lead mini lessons on a particular writing skill? And if the answer is yes, what what kind of content? And that will be on the questionnaire. So you can tell me here, but you can also fill it out on the questionnaire. And then I'm curious as to what has been challenging to you about writing at the moment, and what are some strategies that you have developed to keep you writing? Because I think it's important to share those. Stop sharing my screen for a moment. Actually, no, I'll leave it up for y'all. But I'll give y'all a couple of minutes to answer these questions. And if possible, let's use our mics.
All
If you
right,
don't,
so I want to answer some questions that have come in during the meeting. Will there be other opportunities, or are you aware of other writing accountability groups to provide opportunities for those who might have full-time schedules, which make it difficult to attend? The answer is yes, I know of other opportunities, and I'll share one in a moment, but I I don't think that they will be conducive to people working a full-time job, unfortunately. And that is something I'm going to keep in mind in the future. So just to share a little bit of that information, the graduate school, the Writing Center, and the library are putting together a dissertation writing academy in May. Information will be forthcoming, but it is specifically for people working on their dissertations. So keep checking your email to see information about that. However, the way it's running will be full days for the 2.5-ish weeks that we are working. And so again, that's not very conducive to full-time schedules. But I appreciate the person who raised this question, because it reminds all of us that we need to take all students into consideration. So this is something that I'll be thinking about in the future when I offer the Writing Accountability Group again. Then would we be able to meet or attend the meetings virtually? And the answer is yes, they are virtual. We will be meeting on Zoom every week. When I mentioned that people could come to the Writing Center, that was to say only if you don't have a writing space where you could join us on Zoom, the Writing Center can provide that space. But we are meeting only virtually on Zoom. And then finally, when will we receive the information for our next meetings? Over the weekend, once I see who will be attending the first meeting, which will be Monday, January 29th, I will send out the Zoom link and all of the other information, including the dates when we won't be meeting. So I hope that helps. And thank you so much again for your interest in this group.